I was going to teach you how to properly pitch a tarp today, but then as I was going through the content, it made me think maybe you should know this first. What's going on, everyone? Marty here from PireExtreme.com. Welcome back to the channel. But if you're new here on the channel, I cover all things canoe camping and gear. So if that interests you, make sure to subscribe. In this week's video, I'm going to teach you four very useful knots so that you can properly pitch your tarp. Let's go. All right, so just like any other skill, before you go out in the backcountry on a canoe camping trip, you need to make sure you master them. So I'd like to encourage everybody at home to grab yourself a piece of rope, and we're going to practice together today. For me, I'm just using simple paracord, and it's usually what I use all the time anyways in the backcountry. So practicing on the rope that you're actually going to be using is also a very important thing to do. And mine is orange because I found over the years that black paracord just is so invisible in the backcountry, and I kept clotheslining myself and tripping, so I've moved to orange, and that seems to be a bit more visible. So let's turn you around and I'll show you guys my 4 knots that you need to practice before you can learn how to pitch your tarp. To practice the 4 knots we're going to be going over today, you're going to need some kind of static object. So I'm going to be practicing around a tree because all the knots we're going to be doing are going to be to literally attach to something, whether it's a tree or a tarp basically. So use a tree. You can use, the leg of a chair at home or of your table, or even, I don't know, your child's arm. It doesn't really matter. It's just to get the motion in here. And the first 2 knots I want to show you guys are knots that I would call static knots. And what do I mean by static knots is they're going to be used to secure the rope to an object like a tree or to your tarp directly, and they're going to be static from there on. They're not going to be adjustable or anything. And the first knot I want to show you guys is the bowline knot, and it's a very useful knot in general to have because it's a knot that holds really tight but is really easy to take apart. And I use it a lot for attaching my guy lines to my tent, for example, or to attach the rope to the tarp as well as a static line. So it's very simple to do, but where people go wrong is the starting point is everything in this one. And I'll show you guys what I mean by this. So you're gonna have your moving line here and your static line on the left side. I always go left to right myself, and my moving line is always gonna be the one in my right hand. So it's a good tip also to always practice your knots the same way. So you're gonna basically take your moving line and just kind of hold it in your right hand for now. And the bowline is all in the way you start with your static line. And what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna do a loop like that. But where people go wrong is that they're gonna take the rope closest to them and loop it over top. And that's why it doesn't work. You gotta take the rope closest to you, loop it underneath so that the static rope line is on top. Once you have that loop, okay, so just one more time, you take the static rope, you put it underneath, you make a loop, and then you pinch it with your fingers here. All you gotta do is bunny goes up the hole, right? Very simple, around the tree, which is the static line, and then back in the hole. And when you pull it, okay, you usually wanna try to, keep your knots nice and flat. There we go. It looks like this, okay? And the beauty of this knot is that it holds really, really tight. But when you want to take it apart, it's very easy to just kind of unfold and play with it, and it comes undone very fast. So that's the bowline. All right, now so let's try this with a bit of an over the shoulder look here, and let's look at the bowline again, and hopefully this will be very clear for you guys. I've got my working line here and then my static line, and the way to go is you always want to start with your static line for the bowline. And so remember, what's important is you take the rope, you go around the tree, you take the rope of the static line that's closest to you, and you're just going to make a loop from underneath so that this line, okay, the static line is over the loop, not the other way around where it's under like this. Really have to make sure you start properly, and you start with it over the loop like this. And now you're going to pinch this side, and you're just going to do the riddle, or the whatever that's called. So your bunny goes up the hole, right? Sometimes I adjust the loop a little bit, but the bunny goes up the hole, around the tree, right? And that's at the back. Don't go over top. Around the tree at the back, and then back in the hole. Once you have it, you can pinch these two, right? Side of the static line, and then just finish your knot by pulling on the tab. And ideally, yeah, there you go. Ideally, you always want it to be as flat as possible. That's how your knot's going to be the strongest. And that's it. The second static knot I want to show you guys, it's one that's actually new to me, and it might be my favorite one now. Every time I'm going to want to secure a rope to a tree, that might be the way I go from there on, because it's just such an efficient and a good way to do it. It's also a slip knot, so you can really undo it really fast, and it holds super strong. And it's called the Siberian Hitch. And the reason why it's called the Siberian Hitch is because it really doesn't require a whole lot of dexterity. So if you're wearing gloves when it's cold and you're doing that knot, it's actually very simple to do with gloves on, and it's super fast and super strong. And again, it's got a slip to it, so literally this might be one of my favorite knot to attach the rope to the tree. And the way we're going to do this, once again, I go left to right, both ends of my rope here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the moving line and I'm going to loop it once around, okay, but not all the way around, just over top like this. Okay, and what I'm going to do is and this is where you got to do kind of a under the line motion and twist. Okay, and then you're going to grab the other end of the line and pull through. When you do this, okay, it's going to look something like this. You're going to grab both of the lines here, and then you're going to cinch it tight on itself. Then the last move you're going to want to do is you're going to grab the knot and just pull it to the tree. And now, and then as you push it in, there we go, you'll see every time I do this, and the loop always kind of flips on itself. That's when you know you have it nice and cinched. And now this is holding really tight to the tree. It's cinched up really well, and when you want to take it out, you just pull on the tab and it just comes undone. It's like I said, I just learned this new knot not long ago, and I'm absolutely in love with it because it is such a fast knot to do, and you can literally do it, you know, in no time. So if you're in a hurry to put your tarp up or anything like this, and it really doesn't require any dexterity. So if your hands are cold, it's super easy to do, and to be able to undo it like that is gold to me. So let's go over the Siberian Hitch one more time, but from a different angle once again, so you guys can see it. So you start like this, all in your left hand. So you got your static head line and your moving line. You're gonna go around your finger once, okay? And you're gonna go, you don't have to go all the way down here, you can leave it up here, okay? Go around the fingers, and now you're gonna twist over. And you're gonna see that this line here just falls right over top, and then you take your hands and then you feed this out, and you feed it out on a bite, okay? So it looks like this. You don't want to feed the rope all the way through. Once you have this and you kind of, you know, make the knot a little tighter here, then you can grab the static line and just cinch it really tight to the tree like so. And then as you kind of work it, you'll see the loop will flip on you, which is perfect. That's when you know it's nice and tight, once the loop kind of flips on you once it's against the tree. And to tear it apart, all you gotta do is you pull out. So the next two knots I'm going to show you guys are going to be called adjustable knots. And the reason why they're super useful is because you're going to use basically one of the static knots I showed you earlier to tie to the tree or to tie to your tarp, and you're going to use these two knots to then kind of set it up and then be able to adjust the tension on the rope and basically make it more taut. And using adjustable knots just really allows you to basically do all the fine details and the fine tuning of your tarp so that your tarp is pitched really well. And the first knot I want to show you guys is the Taut-Line Hitch. And just to give you guys an example, this is already done, but what I like about these knots that I'm showing you guys is that you can literally, this is out of frame now, but adjust them in a way that, you know, you make it tight, or you can pull it back on itself and loosen it. And these are super useful knot to learn so that you can pitch your tarp properly, sorry. So let's start here with the Taut-Line Hitch, the one I just showed you guys. And what you're gonna wanna do is very simple. Again, I always work the same way. I go left to right. So the moving rope will be managed with my right hand, and the static line will be managed with my left hand. First thing you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna cross over the rope. Oh, and by the way, to practice these adjustable knots, it's a lot easier if you use a static knot. Like here, I'm set up, the other tree has a static knot on. It's actually a Siberian Hitch. and then now I'm practicing the adjustable knot on the other side. Otherwise, you're gonna find it, you're not gonna be able to practice them really well. So just something to keep in mind. So let's do it again here. So the first thing you wanna do is you take your moving line, you put it over top of your static line. And what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna take your right hand and literally pinch that together so it doesn't move. And you're gonna take the moving line now with your left hand and go twice on the inside, okay, of that V shape here. 1, 2, okay? Very simply like that. And then I'm gonna try to turn my hand around. There you go. So it's gonna look like this. And then you're gonna take that same moving line and go in front of it now, in front of all 3 lines, and make a simple knot by literally throwing it over the static line and back through its own loop like this. And now your knot will look something like this. And that's when you can literally take it and adjust it the way you want. Very simply, you can make it super tight this way. And then when you want to take your tarp down, you can literally just take it down, and the knot is actually pretty easy to undo. Now, another version of this knot that I really enjoy is basically the Taut-Line Hitch with a slip. And it's exactly the same way. So you take your moving line, put it over top of your static line to start, and you pinch it with your right hand. Okay, and then you're gonna go twice on the inside. 1, 2, okay? You're gonna line it up. Then you're gonna switch hand. So it's gonna look like this. And you go 1 on the outside, back in. Now, instead of putting it all back in, what you do is you just put a bite through it. And when we talk knots, a bite means literally pinching the rope. This is a bite, basically. So you're gonna put it back in, but just as a bite. So you're gonna tie it up like this. So you're gonna have a massive, or just a smaller bite here, and then you can make it nice and strong. And now you have an adjustable Taut-Line hitch. Well, a Taut-Line hitch, literally, but it's on a slip here. So even easier at the end of the day when you want to tear it down, you can just pull and it just all comes undone on you, and it's a wonderful knot. Let's go over the Taut-Line hitch one more time here. So you've got your working end and your static line here. What you do is you take your working end, you cross it over top of your static end like this, and then you pinch it with that right hand. And you take your left hand with your moving line, you go twice on the inside, so that's 1. Twice on the inside like this. Then you can switch your hands around and it should look like this if you adjust your knot properly. And then you're gonna take this line, okay, with your right hand, the moving line again, you're gonna go underneath the ridge line and just through on itself like so. You're gonna work the knot, and then after that you can now adjust it the way you want it, okay, or pull it back the way you need it. Now, if you want to do it with a slip, once again, you do the same motion, crossover, pinch, 2 on the inside, 1, 2, and then third one on the outside, but you don't feed the end of the rope here, you feed a bite of the rope through, okay, and then here it goes. Same thing happens, but when you want to undo it, you can just pull on it and off it goes. So the last knot I want to show you guys today is what we call the trucker's hitch, and the trucker's hitch is a super useful knot to really give you all the strength and the ability to cinch in and to taut a line as much as possible, because it creates a pulley system. So the best time you're going to want to use this is on a static rope, for example. So if you want to make a ridge line, that's a really good knot to really crank that ridge line as taut as possible. And it's also a knot that's used quite often to literally secure any load, or even to secure your canoe to the top of your car. So the way you're going to want to do this, you're going to take your static rope here. So this is my moving rope, this is my static rope in my knot making. You're just going to make a loop over top, right? So you're going to take it as close as possible to the tree and go over top. And a little bit like the bowline, if you do the next step wrong, the knot will just fail on you. So what a lot of people do is they'll then take their hands through the loop they just created, and they're gonna grab the static part of the line and create their loop like this. The problem when you do this, and I'm showing this to you guys because I'm sure it'll happen to every one of you guys that is just learning this knot, is as you're gonna start pulling back, the whole loop on itself will basically close, and that's not what you want. If this is happening, you're doing it wrong. So pull it out, undo it. Now we're gonna do it again. So you're gonna make a loop, so closest to the tree over top the static line, and then you're gonna come through the loop and you're gonna grab the actual moving line, okay? And that's how you make the loop that won't collapse on itself. Then you can take your working end, feed it through the loop, and use this as a literally as a mechanism and a pulley system to pull back out as much as possible. And well, in this case here, I didn't account for my loop to be at the right spot, so I'm just gonna redo it. And the beauty of this is that it just comes undone by pulling. So let's try this again. So loop over top here, and you might not see this in the shot, but I'll show it again after. Loop over top, I grab the working end, I make a nice loop here. As you can see, I go around the tree. Ooh. It's a lot easier if you're not trying to film it at the same time. And once you have this motion here, you can really crank it. Oh yeah, there you go, that's a trucker's hitch. And now you can really make this as tight as possible. Now the next move will be very simple, is you're gonna pinch that right here with the one hand, and you're just gonna basically make a simple knot over top. And what I personally do myself is I do like a simple knot on a bite here. So just to show you guys at home, is I go underneath, around this line here, and through the loop, and literally just leave that on a slip like this. And now you've got something very, very strong. When you want to adjust it, because let's say it got a little loose or anything like this, all you gotta do is pull on the tab, adjust it a bit more, repeat the process. So that's why I like to leave it on a slip like this myself, or I use, I make a bite here with it. And when you want to take it out, all you gotta do again, you pull it down one way, you unfeed it, and then you take that static rope and then you just pull it out and you're good to go. So one more time here for the trucker's hitch. Again, the most important part is how you start. So you're gonna take your ridge line here, which is the static side of the line, and before you wrap it around the tree, I usually kind of do my loop first. So you're gonna do something very similar to the Siberian hitch, where you're gonna basically wrap around with your moving line around your fingers. Once you get to here, you're gonna this time go underneath, right, twist, grab this line here, and basically make a bite or a loop. But in the knot making, that's what we call a bite. Now you have the loop that you need to then go around the tree. Okay, so now it's nice and strong this way that you're gonna be able to adjust it. And when you wanna take it out, all you gotta do is pull on it, and it comes right undone. All right, so once you have your loop done, now you can go ahead and pass the rope around the tree. You feed the moving line through that loop, right? And then you can just really pull on that and make it as tight as you want. Use this as a pulley, and you take your other hand, you pinch it right here, and once again you're gonna go under and just through like this. You just kind of feed through a bite, and then this is how you lock it. It'll look like this. When you want to adjust it, all you gotta do, my recommendation is hold it here, pull that, adjust it, pinch again, repeat the process. There we go, just like that. So that covers everything that I wanted to show you guys. So basically 4 knots that I think that any backcountry canoe campers needs to know.